She wasn't snooping, just checking the photo uploads from their shared cloud. But there it was, her partner's face, her bedroom, and someone else in his arms. Her breath caught mid-step. Her knees went cold. The timestamp? Last Thursday, the night he said he was working late. She didn't scream, didn't throw the phone. She just stood there and stared. Then she began to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. She packed a small bag and left quietly. No note, no confrontation. He wouldn't know she was gone until he started hearing her again. The apartment next door had been vacant for weeks. She asked no questions, paid in cash, took the key. The landlord smiled, unaware of the plan he just enabled. She moved in silently. No furniture, just essentials and speakers. The walls were thin. She remembered that from their fights. She measured the floor plan by memory. Every step, every squeaky board. From next door, she could hear his TV, his footsteps, his voice. She didn't want to confront him. She wanted to unmake him, one sleepless night at a time. And it started that very evening. At exactly 2:47 a.m., the walls throbbed with static and whispers. He sat up, groggy, confused, checked his phone. Nothing. The sound stopped the moment he stood up. He walked to the wall, pressed his ear. Silence. Then, a faint giggle. Her voice, low and ghost-like. He opened the front door, looked down the hall. Empty. She watched through the peephole, perfectly still. He shut his door and turned off the lights. The moment he lay down, the flickering began. A single bulb pulsing in sync with his heartbeat until dawn. He didn't sleep the next night either. The music returned, soft at first, then rising like a heartbeat. When he knocked on her old door, no one answered. Just silence. He checked the building records, still listed as vacant. The landlord shrugged. No one's moved in there yet, but he heard footsteps, saw shadows under the door. I swear I heard her, he told a friend on the phone. The friend laughed. She dumped you, man. You're paranoid. But when the lights began to flicker again, he didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just sat there, waiting. She'd spent hours editing her voice recordings, whispers layered over soft breathing. Her laugh, slowed to 70% Ochwa, played just loud enough to register as real, but never clear. She cued different tracks for different nights. The goal wasn't to scare him. It was to unhinge him, make him question what was real, make him crave sleep and fear silence. She knew his patterns. When he showered, when he locked the door, each sound she sent through the wall was deliberate. A soft knock, a dragged heel, a recorded sigh on loop. She wasn't haunting him. She was rewriting the walls around his guilt. By the fourth night, he stopped turning off the lights, but the bulbs flickered anyway, even the new ones. His hallway light turned off by itself. Twice. He walked with a flashlight now, jumping at every shadow. He stopped inviting people over. They'd just say he looked tired. I think the place is wrong, he muttered once into a voice memo. He started sleeping with headphones in, but the whispers bled through. She watched from behind the wall, smiling with every sleepless hour. His guilt wasn't keeping him up at night. She was. By the sixth night, he made a call he never thought he'd make. A paranormal investigator stood in his living room, eyes scanning the walls. You say it starts around 3 a.m., the woman asked. He nodded. Dark circles carved under his eyes. Voices. Flickering lights. Moving shadows, he muttered. She set down a recorder, pressed play. Nothing but silence. Entities don't always leave evidence, she said kindly. He asked, "Could it be someone I wronged?" She paused, then simply said, "They always are." He didn't sleep at all that night. She watched the investigator leave through a sliver of curtain. He looked shaken, distracted. Perfect. That night, she upped the volume. Just barely. A soft, humming lullaby she used to sing to herself, overlaid with the sound of footsteps pacing in water, then the unmistakable sound of a door unlocking. Slowly, from inside, she watched his light flick on, then off, then on again. He opened his front door, looked into the hallway. Empty. But the moment he stepped back in, she tapped the wall. Once. Just once. And it was enough to break something in his face. By the end of the week, he started packing. Not carefully, desperately. Clothes thrown into suitcases. Dishes abandoned in the sink. He called the landlord in a panic. "I need to break the lease. You still have 6 months. I don't care. I can't stay here." He didn't even finish packing everything. Just threw what he could into the car, slammed the door, and vanished into the night. No goodbye. No apology. And as he drove away, she turned off the speakers for the first time and exhaled. The hallway was quiet now. Empty. Still. No more footsteps. No late-night murmurs. She stood between the two doors, the one she used to love behind, the one she now owned. For the first time, she wasn't listening for him. She was listening to the silence she earned. No one knew what had happened here. Not really. To the world, he was just another guy who cracked under stress. But to her, he was a lesson, and a memory she no longer carried. She hadn't haunted him. Not really. She just let his guilt speak louder than she ever had to. She packed everything neatly. Wires, devices, recordings. There would be no evidence. No trace. She wasn't afraid of getting caught. She just liked being clean. She labeled the box, "Old Life," and taped it shut. The apartment had served its purpose. It was never home. Just a stage. A whisper chamber. A place to rewrite grief. She turned off the lights. Listened one last time. No footsteps. No heartbeat. Just calm. She smiled. This time, it reached her eyes. Then she walked out, leaving no ghosts behind. 2 weeks later, the apartment went up for rent again. The building manager still told stories about the guy who ran off in the middle of the night. Hayes swore the place was haunted. The agent laughed. Prospective tenants shrugged it off. Urban legends. Drama. But no one stayed longer than 6 months after that. Some said they heard things. Faint taps, static in the walls. One swore she heard a woman laugh when no one was home. But no one ever proved a thing. Because the woman who started it all, she was long gone and never looked back. In another city, in another life, she finally exhaled. No more walls to listen through. No voices to mimic. Just sunlight, coffee, and the silence she'd earned. She didn't miss him. She didn't miss who she used to be with him. This peace didn't come from love. It came from liberation, and the satisfaction of knowing she'd reclaimed her power. She no longer looked over her shoulder, because revenge wasn't about being followed. It was about never needing to follow anyone again. She had everything she needed: space, freedom, and quiet. Months later, a book appeared in independent bookstores. Echoes Through Thin Wall Sim. A psychological thriller by a first-time author. The plot? A woman driven to madness, or maybe justice. The reviews were mixed, unnerving, brilliant, deeply unsettling. But one thing everyone agreed on: it felt A2 reeling. She never promoted it. Never did interviews. Just a few signed copies left in select shops, always anonymously. One critic wrote, "This story reads like a true confession, hidden in fiction, but no one could trace it to her. And she liked it that way. She filled her nights with quiet places, museums, galleries, silent films, rooms where light moved more than voices did. She stood in front of an installation titled, Unheard, flickering bulbs in a soundless room. A younger woman beside her whispered, 'It feels like someone's watching.' She smiled, or listening. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't hiding either. She had simply evolved. Not every ghost wears chains. Some wear headphones. Not every haunting is supernatural. Some are orchestrated, note for note, whisper by whisper. Years later, he finally sought help. He sat across from a therapist, eyes dull, voice shaky. It felt real, he said, like she never really left. He avoided mirrors, hated silence, moved apartments 4 times. "You think she was haunting you?" the therapist asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "Oh, maybe I deserved it. Do you still hear her?" "Ah." He didn't answer, just stared at the wall, eyes wide. The therapist scribbled notes as he whispered, "She never said goodbye." And somewhere deep inside, he hoped she never would. She walked through the park slowly, autumn wind in her hair. No rush, no wait, just footsteps and falling leaves. She didn't think about him much anymore. Sometimes his face showed up in dreams, confused, calling out. But she always walked away before he could speak. Her life was full of new stories now, none of them about him. No more walls, no more plans, just peace. She had nothing left to prove. Revenge had never been about destruction. It was about finally being able to leave, and mean it. She stood by the window, the city glowing quietly beneath her. No speakers, no recordings, just the soft hum of distant life. She touched the glass, saw her reflection flicker in the light. She didn't see a ghost. She saw someone whole. Not the woman who begged for honesty. Not the girl who was lied to in her own bed. She had become something else entirely. Not a victim. Not a villain. Just a woman who learned how to disappear without ever really leaving.